Hi, for Halloween, I went to the movies with a couple of friends. We went to see Last Night in Soho, because of course you would. It's the new film from Edgar Wright, who made his name with Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and several other movies. And it's much more of a straighter film. Although there is some humour, it's largely a straight psychological horror. It's the story of young Ellie, an aspiring fashion student who moves from Cornwall to the big city to pursue her dream of being a designer. She struggles to fit in, being very much a fan of 60s fashions and music, and finds herself instead moving into a bedsit of Soho. But while she's there, she starts having very vivid dreams about a 60s starlet played by Anya Taylor-Joy and her gradual downward spiral. But her dreams and reality start to overlap, and she suspects she's being followed by spirits or ghosts or maybe just her own mental health problems re emerging. It's an extremely stylish, incredibly vivid production. Edgar Wright has a real skill for visual storytelling, and as a result, the film looks absolutely ravishing. There is gorgeous photography, the editing is slick and sharp, and the visual effects for use in the overlapping dream and reality sequences are performed extremely well, as is the set design in recreating 60s London. Even present day London, shot apparently without any particular embellishment, looks absolutely ravishing, and the film all the way through looks completely fantastic. The problem, however, is really with the script. Much of the film has a subtext about how women were exploited for entertainment purposes, both during the 60s and even today. And even the idea of a poisoning element in nostalgia that Ellie, who's excellently played by Thomasin McKenzie, looks back on the 60s as some idyllic, idealized period in history. But the flashbacks and the dreams suggest that it was actually far darker and more corrupt than her imaginings would suggest. This idea of the poison element of nostalgia, as I say, which made it particularly interesting, I thought, that Quentin Tarantino was thanked in the credits, as his last film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, was the exact opposite, a complete fetishization of nostalgia. And weren't the 60s amazing? And didn't we have great fun barbecuing the Manson family? However, this whole idea gets lost towards the end when various plot turns require this to be abandoned in favor of other story elements. And it felt as though Wright was abandoning his central thesis in order to just pack in twists and turns into the story. The film feels very much like a giallo, the stylized and often quite gore heavy Italian style of horror movie popularized in the 1970s, particularly by Dario Argento. Um, Distracted by fireworks, sorry. um, and those films tended to be more invested in visual style and surface elements rather than an actual meat of the story. And this is unfortunately where Last Night in Soho falls down. If you don't examine it too closely, then overall it's a fantastic movie. As I say, it looks and sounds gorgeous. The performances are fantastic. Both Mackenzie and Taylor Joy are terrific. There's an extraordinary supporting cast, including Matt Smith, Terence Stamp, Diana Rigg in her final film. All of them superb. The film is ravishing, brilliantly produced, brilliantly acted. It's just a shame that it doesn't have the strength of its convictions to follow through on the ideas rather than just a twist laden plot. As a result, it's a bit of a misfire, but even so, it's still worth seeing because it really is worth seeing.